And so again, when we stretch, what we're going to be doing is pulling on already fatigued muscles. And we're not really recalibrating their muscle tone at all. We're just pulling on tired, tight muscles. It's not going to change anything from the brain level, and that's what we're doing. Hello and welcome back. Now, if you're watching this on the Total Somatics YouTube channel, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and press the notification bell. And if you're watching this anywhere else, this Somatic Movement and Mindset podcast, wherever you're watching this on podcast channels around the world, don't forget to also press the notification bell and also share these episodes with people, because it's really important this information gets out to as many people as possible to help their current and future health and well-being too. Now, in today's episode, I'd like us to consider a subject which I've covered with many people, either online in question and answer sessions or here in my clinic here in Adelaide in South Australia. And that is about using pandiculation before and after exercise, and why pandiculation is a much more effective approach than stretching. So what I want to do is break down the before and the after of this so you can get a really good idea. And as you'll know from previous episodes, within Total Somatics, we're moving with the times. So we're taking in the information of neuromuscular science that we are learning now and allowing ourselves to have that growth mindset to continue moving forward so that we have the best quality of health and well-being that we can take, rather than being stuck with a fixed mindset to the old approaches with stretching. So let's consider before exercise and why pandiculation is much better than stretching. So in traditional static stretching, this is really where you kind of hold a muscle in a lengthened position for quite some time. Now, when you keep pulling or you're stretching that muscle, what you actually do is you dampen your nervous system. So you temporarily reduce your muscle's responsiveness, which then reduces strength and power output to the muscle, and it also affects coordination. So you've got motor units called sarcomeres that are in your muscles, and what happens is before you exercise, if you stretch, it can affect the power output for up to 45 minutes. So can you see why now we really want to use movement to prime and prepare our muscles for movement, rather than the old-fashioned approach of stretching? So really, can you see already, stretching is not an ideal practice to do before movement, because we're dampening the responsiveness, the power output and strength, and the coordination of your muscles when we stretch. Whereas in contrast to that, when we pandiculate, it becomes something of a neuromuscular practice, and that starts to mirror natural movement. So what happens when we pandiculate is pandiculation will wake up your brain, and it increases the connection between your brain and your muscles. And what that will do is it will reset your muscle tone and length. It prepares your body for movement, and also it heightens your coordination, your control, your reflexes, and your responsiveness. It's absolutely incredible. And that's why animals in the animal kingdom, they don't stretch, they pandiculate. You consider next time with an animal, when you see them, if it's your pet, for instance, they'll do a little pandiculation, which is a little contraction, a little lengthening, and then they'll rest and they'll settle down in their bed. Or they'll do a little yawn, which is a pandiculation, with a full body movement pattern, and then go off and explore their surroundings. So they are priming and preparing their neuromuscular system for movement, coordination, responsiveness, reflexes, everything. Now let's consider after exercise. So after exercise, our muscles can become very, very tight, can't they, from repetitive actions. If it's weights or cycling, sit-ups, whatever it is you're doing, that repetitive action creates muscle contraction. And so again, when we stretch, what we're going to be doing is pulling on already fatigued muscles. And we're not really recalibrating their muscle tone at all. We're just pulling on tired, tight muscles. It's not going to change anything from the brain level, and that's what we're doing. So what will happen is that you sometimes will feel a bit of temporary relief. You might get a little bit of a lengthening of a muscle. You might even feel that your limbs lower to the floor a little bit more, but it doesn't create long-term change, because it's not changing anything at a brain level. And we want to use our time as wisely and as efficiently as possible. Everybody's busy. So surely you'd want to use something that has an intelligent, long-term approach rather than something that's temporary. And then the next minute we're back to rigid, tight muscles. And as we've learned before, that compression and tightness within your joints. You see, when we now compare pandiculation after exercise, it's a completely different story, because pandiculation helps your nervous system to release excess tension that's accumulated during physical activity. Pandiculation also lowers a term we use in clinical somatic movement called sensory motor amnesia. And so when you use pandiculation, it lowers the chance of you developing sensory motor amnesia, which is basically your brain's forgetfulness of how you can move muscles efficiently. When you develop sensory motor amnesia, that's what creates muscle tension. It creates a lack of elasticity and shock absorbency in your spine. You no longer have fluid movement. It's no longer efficient. And when you have sensory motor amnesia, the principle of movement is lost, which we know from many of these episodes is that when you move, one side of your body should contract and the other side should lengthen and release to let that movement happen. When you have sensory motor amnesia, you are locked and tight and hunkered down through the front, back and sides. You can walk really stiff and robotic. Whereas I've mentioned many times, I'm going to share it with you now. If you're watching this on camera and you can see me visually, I'm going to just put my hand in front. Imagine that hand is your pelvis and this hand is your rib cage. When you walk, you should counter rotate, which means your pelvis should rotate and twist one way. Your pelvis should go the other. That creates a spiral component within your body. That helps with shock absorbency through your spine. It improves your joint health. It improves rib mobility. This is what's so powerful about pandiculation is we are reintroducing efficient, intelligent movement back into your body. It's a real neuromuscular reset. It's a recalibration. And so that's why when we do pandiculation, we lower the chance of you developing sensory motor amnesia, where your brain simply forgets how to contract and how to relax at the appropriate time. Can you see it's an incredibly time efficient way of working too? Because when we pandiculate, we're helping our current self out, but we're helping our future health and well-being out too. So every moment that we pandiculate, we are creating this compound effect. What we do now is helping for us also into the future. You know, with our joints, with our muscles, I've seen it for nearly 25 years in clinical practice. We can replace cars and furniture, but we can't replace, well, we can have hip replacements and shoulder reconstruction. We can have these things replaced, but we want to really nurture and take care of what we have now so that we can take care of ourselves now and our future well-being. So again, let's consider with pandiculation after exercise that what we're doing is we're not passively lengthening or pulling a muscle like we do with stretching. What we're doing instead is we're actively re-educating your brain to muscle connection. And that means that when we re-educate, we are allowing your brain to notice with pandiculation the choreography of how to release and fully let go of that tension. That's why it's so powerful, this work. I've got such a passion for it because I've seen so many people change so quickly. Because when you get your brain on side, knowing these innate powerful techniques that we used to do in the womb, we used to do as babies, but then we get into everyday life, we're told to sit still, stop wriggling, look straight ahead, we're on mobile devices more than ever, so we've become more sedentary and we've simply lost the natural practice of pandiculation. Instead, we've taken on things because we know that lengthening a muscle is really good, so we try stretching. But again, we've moved away from what actually serves us well, and that is neuromuscular reset using natural innate properties with pandiculation. That's why all other vertebrate animals like cats and dogs, other vertebrate animals, they pandiculate. So we've got to learn from our little furry friends and get back to what serves us well. deep down. Remember, working from the inside out. And so that's why when we tune into your neuromuscular system, we will get optimal function before and after any of these movements. It's going to help with rebalancing, with coordination. I always talk about like our internal awareness or interoception and proprioception. So how we move, how we balance, how we navigate our external world. Pandiculation heightens all of those skills. So you can see why it'll help us also into the future, because if we're great with our spatial awareness and our balance, it's going to really take care of us as we move forward. So that's why I'd encourage you, when you can get the opportunity, to go and have a look at totalsomatics.com, click on the Join Now page, and you'll have the opportunity to come into the Total Somatics membership and join me and all the beautiful people around the world. And I'd love to teach you the power of pandiculation. Not just the power of pandiculation, though. I'll be teaching you how your mindset and how mindfulness techniques heighten practices of pandiculation and other clinical somatic movement. Because we can do pandiculation and we can do clinical somatic movement. But that's why I deliberately in Total Somatics bring in 3 aspects, which is movement, mindset, and mindfulness. Because I've seen over the years, you can just go through the motions, but if you're not changing how your brain and how your mindset and how your approach is to that practice, you will get some results, but we really need to become truly embodied and mindful and conscious of our mindset, our approach, our techniques to heighten our practice. And that's where we create huge transformations in our life. So come and join me within Total Somatics. It's totalsomatics.com. Click on the Join Now page. I'd love you and I to get together, and you can join me and all the wonderful people around the world that are in the Total Somatics membership who have also got lasting change and benefits and enjoy that continued support as they move forward. So I'll see you all very soon. All my love and my very best wishes. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for joining me today. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and also forward this on to somebody you know will benefit. To learn more about pain relief, plus how to improve your health and well-being, go to totalsomatics.com. Until next time, take care.